For thousands of years, the number 666, from the book of Revelation, has sparked, fear, fascination, and honestly, endless speculation. I mean, is it a barcode? Is it a microchip? Some secret society? Okay, let's just pause right there. Today, we're diving into this explainer to look at this ancient text through a completely different lens. And we're going to strip away all those pop culture myths and look at the actual structural logic behind the mark of the beast.
So what if 666 isn't some piece of physical technology at all? What if, instead, it describes a measurable condition of human informational collapse? Think about it. The ancient text describes a civilization entering terminal instability. It talks about a system that gets completely overloaded, highly polarized, and ultimately just traps people. Today, we're exploring the idea that this mark actually represents a condition where a human being becomes perfectly synced up with a collapsing system.
Section 1. Understanding Triune Harmonic Dynamics. To decode all of this, we need a solid mathematical framework. We aren't using theology or mythology for this explainer. Instead, we're looking at this through a highly structured physical lens to see how complex systems actually behave when they start breaking down.
And that framework, it's called Triune Harmonic Dynamics, or THD for short. This was actually discovered and developed by Kevin L. Brown. He's a researcher, inventor, and author. And Brown's research reveals something pretty incredible. Basically, there's a universal 369 pattern that governs exactly how all things change, evolve, and stay stable. This isn't just some abstract philosophy either. It's a testable pattern found in physics, biology, and even human consciousness. Literally every stable system in the universe follows this specific rhythm to stay healthy.
Let's break this down so it's super easy to picture. According to Kevin L. Brown's THD framework, every single thing that grows or changes has to successfully move through a simple three-step cycle. First, you have the start, or emergence, where something new begins. Second, you hit tension, or contrast, where that new thing faces some sort of opposition or stress. And third, you reach resolution, or integration. That's where the tension is solved and the system actually becomes stronger. Start, tension, resolution. It's kind of like a muscle, right? You start a workout, you put tension on the muscle, and then it resolves and grows while you rest. But here's the kicker. If you miss a step, the whole system breaks.
Section 2. The Human Triadic System. So how exactly does a human being function as a stable system? And how does applying this start, tension, resolution pattern help us actually understand how the mark functions? Let's take a look.
Just like the universe itself, a human being is built in three interacting layers. First up, we have the atomic body. That's our physical structure. You know, how we eat, move, basically how we survive. Second, we have electromagnetic emotion. This is how our nervous system regulates feelings and how we relate to the people around us. And third, we have the informational mind. This is our conscious thought, our identity, and where we find our meaning. Now, for you to be a healthy, stable human, all three of these layers absolutely must be in perfect alignment. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your physical actions all have to be singing the exact same tune.
And this perfectly aligns with a really key mystery from the book of Revelation. The text famously says the mark goes on the forehead or the hand. Now, under the THD framework, this isn't literal ink or a stamp. The forehead represents your informational mind, your cognition, your thoughts, your entire orientation to the world. And the hand, that represents your atomic body, your physical action, your labor, your economic behavior. So the ancient text is actually describing a state where human thought and human action are directly being targeted.
Because think about what happens when your cognition believes one thing, but your emotions feel something else, and your hand goes and executes a completely different behavior entirely just to survive. You experience massive internal fragmentation. It's a real mess. In THD, this specific state is called phase incoherence. Sure, you're still operating on the outside, but your internal layers are drifting totally out of sync. You're basically tearing yourself apart from the inside.
Moving on to Section 3. Execution. The phase lock loop. Let's look at how this actually works in practice. Like, what is the exact execution mechanism of this hypothesis? If 666 really is a structural collapse, what is happening to a human being when they get this mark?
Remember that three-step cycle we just talked about? The start, tension, resolution? Well, the execution mechanism of the mark is something called recursive contrast. In simple terms, it's a phase lock loop. That means a person gets trapped right in the middle step. They get stuck in the tension phase and they can never, ever reach resolution. Imagine that. Their thoughts and their actions are just locked in a state of constant, stressful conflict. If we compare these two states, a healthy 369 cycle sees your energy rise into tension and then safely drop down into a calm resolution. But a phase lock loop, it's endlessly spiking in that middle tension phase. There's no relief. When human cognition and behavior get trapped in this loop, your thought fragments from actual truth-seeking and your action fragments from long-term survival. The person's internal structure quite literally collapses.
So the ultimate execution of the mark really isn't some microchip scanning your wrist at the grocery store. It is synchronization with a collapsing system. The real danger here is that human beings become totally dependent on an unstable external architecture. Think of a highly polarized society or a failing economic system. These things force our thoughts and our daily labor into this endless loop of tension. We end up adopting the chaos of the system as our own internal state.
Section 4. Falsification. Testing the hypothesis. Now, Kevin L. Brown's work provides rigorous falsification parameters. That's just a fancy way of saying we can actually test this hypothesis using physical, biological data to prove if it's true or false.
We can literally measure this structural collapse using 3 distinct tools. For the physical body, we use bioresonance monitors to check for proper 3-6-9 ratio alignment. To measure emotional regulation, we look at heart rate variability, or HRV. And to measure the forehead, that cognitive phase, we use EEG brainwave scans. If a person is structurally collapsing, their EEG and HRV will literally show them stuck in a phase lock pattern. They won't show any signs of recovery.
And honestly, this is how we falsify the entire theory. If we take individuals whose thoughts and actions are deeply misaligned and fragmented, and we run those exact EEG and HRV tests, and the physical data does not show them stuck in a phase lock loop, well then Kevin L. Brown's hypothesis is falsified, thrown out. But if the data does show it, it proves that moral and mental confusion isn't just some philosophical idea. It is a measurable, physical instability that expresses itself right through human biology and behavior.
Section 5. Escaping the collapse. We've broken down the math, the biology, the ancient text, but the big question remains. What should you take away from all this? How do we actually apply this to our own lives right now?
Avoiding the mark in a structural sense means consciously protecting your own personal system from getting trapped in that tension loop. It requires active alignment. You have to ensure your thoughts, your forehead, are always seeking truth. You have to actively regulate your emotions so you don't just get swept up in societal panic. And you must control the actions of your hand, making sure your daily labor actually aligns with your morals. You've got to be harmonically aligned, flat out refusing to let external pressures fragment you.
I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought. Take a look around at the tension in the world today. It's everywhere, right? Now look inward. Ask yourself, are your thoughts and your actions syncing up with an external, collapsing system, or are you doing the hard work to find your own internal harmonic resolution? It's an absolutely incredible way to view an ancient mystery, and the wildest part is, it's all measurable right here, right now. Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with me, and hey, keep questioning the structures around you.